Hello and welcome to the Intentional Brief, your weekly video update on the one big thing in cybersecurity news for growth stage companies, their investors, and management teams. I'm your host, Shay Colson, managing partner at Intentional Cybersecurity, and you can find us online at intentionalcyber.com. Today is Monday, June 29th, 2026. Clearly a little out of practice for me, having taken a week off last week for a little vacation, and we find ourselves with the Strait of Hormuz still closed, though maybe it was open for a day or so since we last talked. Lots of landscapes seem to be shifting at this kind of day-to-day, hour-to-hour rate, and that's what we're going to talk about today around this new reality of the shifting landscapes. We saw news last week from OpenAI that they're expanding a program they call Daybreak, focused on what they call, quote, democratizing patching vulnerable software at machine speed, unquote. According to news coverage, this effort, now known colloquially as Patch the Planet, also has an arm of support from SoftBank, the Japanese technology giant, who's launching a patching service targeting the nation's, quote, top 3,000 companies behind critical infrastructure like airports, power systems, and transportation in Japan. Regular watchers will know we've been talking over the past few months about how frontier models are going to start to find a tremendous amount of vulnerabilities in existing software. Largely, this discussion has been kind of led by, focused on, driven by Anthropic's Mythos model. So I think it's nice to see OpenAI look to cover off the other side of this conversation and really work to support defenders. In fact, we're already seeing the need for this with the kind of leading edge of this discovery change with the announcement earlier in the last week of a new AI-driven piece of research that found an 18-year-old bug in the Nginx software package, which is now being exploited for remote code access. It's being tracked as CVE 2026-42945. And as the Cloud Security Alliance notes in their write-up, this vulnerability is one that I think is hard to overweight. They note that Nginx serves approximately 33% of all websites globally, meaning we've got the potential for hundreds of millions of hosts exposed here. And that's why this notion of patching at machine speed from OpenAI is so appealing. They are partnering with leading consulting firm Trail of Bits to push this capability into open source projects and build flows that help ensure adoption with dedicated security engineers supporting those projects. They also have a relationship with HackerOne to continue to drive this back into the bug bounty side of the house. And these models and these skills that are being built will, I think, really help bring some actual velocity into this practice and into these open source tools that we all use on a regular basis, even if we don't necessarily see them or interact with them. But beyond that, these teams are building playbooks and best practices that you can then take and put into place for your own organization around discoverability, validation, severity review, disclosure, patch development, testing, deployment, and everything you need to continue to build capability and velocity to patch vulnerabilities that you don't know about today, but you will very soon. So while there's still a lot of debate, I think, in this larger view around the value of AI and the risks that it might expose and unintended consequences, this particular program from OpenAI seems like a solid win that's worth recognizing in a time where there are seemingly fewer wins to be had and they are harder to come by. So certainly credit where it's due today. From a fundraising perspective, an absolutely massive week last week with more than 60 billion, yes, 60B, in newly committed capital announced, led by Abu Dhabi's MGX, who has raised close to $50 billion from both regional and global investors to what they say is accelerate spending on artificial intelligence infrastructure and technology, according to people familiar with the matter. They were also joined this week by some funds from Main Capital Partners, a Dutch enterprise software investor who put up 4 billion euros for their 9th flagship fund, and an additional 1.25 billion euros for a foundation fund, as well as Menlo Ventures putting up $3 billion for a pair of new funds for them. So congratulations to those funds. 50 billion is a lot of money, even at the rate the AI burns it. So we'll see what kind of an impact that will have. SpaceX is trading back at almost exactly their IPO price, having kind of done a rocket path themselves, up and then back down. So market rationality remains a mystery, question mark. A reminder that you can find all of the links to the articles we talked to in the comments below. You can find back issues and written transcripts of these videos at intentionalcyber.com. And we will see you next week for another edition of the Intentional Brief.